It's okay if you don't know exactly where you're going, if you don't know your destination. Just be here now. This is the message that many of us are going to be getting over and over and over again in many different ways throughout our spiritual awakening journeys. The good news, the exciting thing, is that once you just wake up in general, everything changes for the better. But if you're anything like me, you'll notice that as you continue on this path, it just keeps changing. It never stops. So as soon as you think you're on solid ground, as soon as you think you know who you are, boom, that solid ground is taken out from underneath you. As soon as you think you know everything and you've got all the answers, here's an extremely humbling experience for you to show you who the real boss is, says the universe. So whether you know exactly where you're going right now and are on firm, solid ground, or have no idea where you stand at all or where you're going, you attracted this message and you did it on purpose. In this Vibes and Frequencies video, I'm going to be sharing with you something that is extremely simple that you already know within yourself. And I like that. I like the simplicity of it. I like that you'll experience the sensation that, oh yeah, I already knew that. I like the power that comes with those kinds of realizations, those kinds of understandings. And I'm going to break something down for you and show you some illustrations to help you to really, really center yourself in this. But I wanted to first let you know that it is really in our highest good and best interest, each of us, even with all of our differences and individuality, to trust our path in life, to trust it. Now, that's something that's obviously it's very easy to do when things are going well. But what about when that platform you've been standing on is ripped out from underneath you? What about when that next inevitable expansion and transformation comes along? When that platform underneath you of basically everything being the way you want it to be is suddenly gone, are you still going to trust? Are you still going to be in a state of receival? Are you still going to be in alignment with your source and who you really are? See, because it's really in our best interest to be in that alignment, because that's when we allow the power to move through us. And you'll experience a much more blissful and really exciting journey when you're able to do this. And that's exactly what I'm going to help reflect to you in this video. So let me just bust out my whiteboard. I usually only do this in my classes and courses, but I'm going to do it today. Who you really are is creating your reality and constantly presenting a path before you. A lot of people call this the path of least resistance. People think of this very simply as like going with the flow. But the realization to be had here is that if something's not going the way that you want it to go, if you don't feel well, a lot of times in your mind, in your human mind, you'll think that something is out of whack, that something is going wrong, when in truth, it's actually just part of your life path unfolding. Now, what a lot of people end up getting confused, and I'm excited to share this with you guys because as I move through my journey, I start to realize this more and more in different levels and in different ways. You learn about the law of attraction, and you learn that you're creating your reality. So you start kind of asserting your story of the way you want things to be over and over and over again. But when you understand that this is not an assertion-based universe, when you assert yourself, you're actually holding yourself vibrationally separate from what you want. When you are in a state of attraction, when you're allowing things to come with you and to you, that's when you're in alignment with that higher self, right? So a lot of people refer to this as the higher self, which I've demonstrated as this guy up in a cloud here. And then the way I like to refer to it is actually your inner being, which is going to be represented by the heart right there. So as you can see here, this is meant to basically demonstrate your life path, you know? So as you can see how it goes up, and this is when usually in life you're like, oh yeah, I'm totally enlightened, I did it, I have all the answers and I've realized everything. And then boom, a huge downswing. Now what happens in this downswing is that you in your mind sometimes start to panic because you are aware that you're creating your reality. You've learned a little bit about the law of attraction. So you say, okay, I'm not feeling very well. Something's got to be wrong here. I'm in the process of attracting a bunch of negative things. But what is actually happening is that this downswing is actually part of your higher self's path, your inner being's path. They are creating this. And as you see, there's a huge upswing right after. So all downswings, all moments where things turn left and right and you weren't expecting it, it's all part of your constant expansion and evolution. It's only in our minds that we start to panic. And the reason we panic is because we identify so strongly with a certain story of I'm this, I'm that, this is my relationship with other people, I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert. We have all these different stories we're constantly telling about ourselves and life. And what's happening is it's totally cool to be telling those stories. It's one of the fun processes that we get to experience here. But when you get super attached to your story, when you start to cling very intensely to your story, then when things inevitably change, it's always happening because you're always expanding, you're always evolving. That will never end. As they change, you start to panic because it doesn't look the way you want it to in your mind. But understand that you are the creator of your reality. But what I've been learning that's really been helping me, that I found really valuable, which is what has helped to inspire me to share this with you, is that you are creating your reality, but you're creating it from the place of who you really are, that higher self, that inner being. That's where you create from. So up here in your story, in your mental identification and the clinging to different identities and things like this, that is going to get in your way. What you ought to be doing with your mind that I've been learning is is to align yourself with trusting the flow of life and understanding that things are always going to be changing. And when something doesn't feel good or when it feels like something's going wrong, it's only your mind that sees it that way. Because your higher self, see how they're up there and they can see clearly? Your higher self can see the whole path unfolding. They know that this downswing, that this change that you weren't expecting is part of some bigger evolution. And so it's to just trust that. It's not that you have to work really, really hard to be able to see from this perspective and to try to see the future and know exactly what's coming. It's actually a lot more about releasing your need to know exactly what's going to happen next. It's a lot more about trusting the flow and allowing and releasing the need to understand exactly what the destination is going to be. You don't have to know that on this level. That's not your job. Your inner being, your higher self, is completely taking care of that entire journey for you. Your job is to be here now and just enjoy your life. And it can be hard sometimes because when things drastically change, it's natural to not feel well about that. But just because it's natural, as in it's valid, your experience, doesn't mean that it's the way it has to be. Because the truth is, if you could trust, if you could have that alignment with yourself, with who you really are, knowing that everything is working for you and it's all part of what you really desire, who you really are wants to be experiencing. When you let that happen and you maintain that trust, even in the downswing episodes, something absolutely incredible happens. What ends up happening is you're able to channel this powerful energy from your higher self through into your inner being. And when you have your mind trusting and understanding that you know that it's all in your highest good and you feel that it's all in your highest good, now what's happening is your mind and your heart, they're aligned. And if you could align your mind with your heart, as in align your ego with your higher self or your story that you're playing out here with source, there's all kinds of different words for this. If you could align that via trust, it's that simple. It's all about trust. And trust is synonymous with letting go. Trust, let go. You don't have to know the destination for things to be succeeding in your life. And if you think about it, maybe you'll be like me and you can look back at some of the hardest times of your life, some of those hardest times, and I see it now that I've got some distance from it. I can see and I can honestly generate genuine gratitude towards those experiences because they are what made me who I am today. They were part of the most incredible transformations. And I didn't know that at the time because I was just panicking. I basically was so lost in my mind telling the story that everything's falling apart. And if I had known what I knew then, that it was part of my expansion and that it's okay that things change and that it might not always look the way I want it to look, but it's life and that's part of the journey, then at all these different pivot points of my life, I would have been able to be there more presently. I would have been less in my head, less staring at some hallucinated story of horrible things happening. And I would have been here, and I would have been able to feel the incredibleness of the experience. That's really one of the aspects of what being present is about, because it helps you to actually enjoy your life experience rather than just always looking forward, always wanting the next thing better and better and better. As long as you're always wanting more, as long as you're always resisting what is currently here, two things happen. You don't enjoy your experience as much because you're lost in your mind. You're not actually here. You're not seeing things for what they really are. You're trapped in your story. And second to that, you're not having your mind and your heart aligned. And when they're aligned, that's when this incredible power of source energy is what I refer to it as. That's when this incredible source energy flows through you. And that is really what a powerful manifestation state is all about. It's not about wanting change so drastically. It's about allowing what is here and now to be. And when you really allow, when you really trust and you really let go, then you are in alignment with the power that creates the entire universe and all that is. You're in alignment with you. And I think that's really incredible. So, moral of the story, you don't have to know the destination. You don't have to know what's coming next. It doesn't always need to look the way you want it to for it to be going perfectly. Trust in the divine timing. Let go of your need to see the way that everything's going to play out and understand everything. It's not your job. Your job is to have the human experience and trust and enjoy the ride. It's a roller coaster. Isn't that cool? So thanks a lot for going below and liking this video. If you liked it, let me know what you think about this conversation. I really do appreciate hearing what you guys have to say, and I'll see you for the next Vibes and Frequencies video. Thanks. Much love.